Thanks for tuning in to Vitality and Motion. Let this be a place to grow your mindset and prioritize movement. All audio is original with music and production support from Riverside as my editing platform. This podcast is for education and inspiration only, and any studies or products I mention are simply for context. Take what fits in your life and check in with your healthcare medical providers as you feel is necessary. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vitality in Motion. I'm your host, Madi, and today we're joined by a special guest, my boyfriend, Jake, and we're going to be discussing all things caffeine, coffee, and pre-workout.
Hey, what's up, guys? Our most special guest for the most special topic.
Oh, of course. Just to kind of describe our relationship in a nutshell, I feel like we could literally talk or yap about anything and make it sound like a good time. So I'm glad you're on the pod with me discussing one of our favorite things to explore together. All right, well, before we get sidetracked, let's go ahead and dive into this Q&A. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what's your favorite way to drink your coffee or caffeine?
So when I was in college is when I really started drinking coffee. I used to go to a local coffee shop at JMU with my friends, and we'd get all the special drinks and stuff like that. I know me and you will sometimes go and explore and try to find those really good latte drinks and things like that. But for the most part, it's mostly just black coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't lie to the people. I know
Yeah.
you like those frou-frou drinks.
Yeah, those are always good. We're always trying to compete and see who gets the better drink. You usually win.
Yeah, usually it is
Yeah.
me, and he's jealous. Anyways, yeah, I do love a good seasonal drink. I'm always changing it up, but lately, or over the summer at least, I like this blueberry pancake latte, which was
Mhm.
really good. Okay, next question is, how many cups on average do you drink a day?
I usually drink the most when I'm at work. I'm a teacher, so gotta have that extra boost of energy being around those knuckleheads. I usually drink one when I first get to work. Sometimes I'll have another one around midday just to get another extra little boost. And then I always drink pre-workout right before the gym. On the weekends, I'll usually drink around two or three as well. So I'd say about two to three on average.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I'm on the well, I'm acting like I don't already know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm kind of on the opposite. I drink like 2 to 3 cups a week, depending on what's going on. Not something I feel like I need daily, but usually I do like to drink like a herbal or a caffeinated tea. I usually do get that nervous or anxious feeling sometimes when I drink caffeines, but honestly, I think it may be more from like the sugar that we put in our coffees.
hmm
All right, the next question I'm going to ask is, can coffee affect anxiety and your sleep?
I would definitely say there's a correlation between the two. Caffeine blocks the buildup of adenosine, which is the chemical that gives your body the ability to relax. So people have seen the correlation between consuming caffeine and then feeling anxious, more alert. Even you mentioned that. Raising your heart rate and even giving you the feeling of restlessness. People will begin to get into the cycle of not sleeping well. So they try to go to sleep. They don't sleep well throughout the night. They wake up and then they have more caffeine and then they start to just get into that cycle of kind of like a hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even gotten into the cycle of that. I'll go to sleep, not really sleep well, and then I got to get up at 6 a.m. for work. And then I'll have coffee throughout the day, and so it's really hard to break that cycle.
Definitely, yeah. And I think it will sometimes trigger a fight or flight response that will raise like the blood pressure and the heart rate. I know I've taken Jake's blood pressure a few times, and his tends to be on the higher side, especially after his consumption of caffeine.
Yeah.
And like I've stated in a previous podcast, hypertension is a silent killer, and it over time will creep in. And it's a known fact that men are at higher risk for heart attacks, with it being the leading cause of death in the US for men. So something to consider, not necessarily saying that caffeine is the main cause, but it could be a correlating factor. And if your daily caffeine intake is enough, it could definitely mess with your sleep, especially if you feel like your mind is running and it takes more than 15 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. A side note is, a cool thing about my Oura Ring is that it does show how long it takes you to fall asleep, and if you fall asleep in less than 5 minutes, you're more likely than overtired. And I'm sure it can raise your risk of feeling anxious because your body is now not recovering from the sleep that it should be getting. All right, so the next question I'm going to ask you is, do you ever drink coffee and still feel tired? And then why can some people drink coffee at night and it doesn't affect your sleep as much?
I'd say at times, yes, I still feel tired even when I drink coffee. Mostly that feeling comes in the afternoon, not really so much in the morning. And I think it's because I drink so much caffeine. You know, people naturally have that buildup of adenosine. It builds up over time as you're moving through the day. And so since I drink so much coffee, I need more caffeine to counter that buildup of adenosine. So, for people who don't drink much caffeine, that'll hit them a lot harder. So since I drink so much, I start to feel tired even if I've had 2 cups throughout the day. And it's also because people have fast metabolism when it comes to caffeine, and that's definitely me. And their liver can process it very quickly. So I actually had a sub that worked with me a couple times last year, and she said her husband would have a cup of coffee at like 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And I think, and he definitely must have had a really fast metabolism because he would drink it, and almost an hour later, he could fall asleep soundly. And then I also have heard from teachers that I work with that if you have ADHD and you drink something like coffee, it can actually calm your brain down.
Hmm.
I've never been tested or diagnosed or whatever. And she said that you might have ADHD, and that's why when you have coffee, you feel almost calmer. But I don't think so because mostly in the morning, I do feel that jacked
Yeah.
up boost. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I thought that was an interesting
That is interesting.
comment.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, like Jake was saying, it essentially caffeine blocks that chemical. And over time, if you do consume the caffeine daily, your body feels like it essentially has to produce more. So that's why people feel that tiredness and feel like they need caffeine to counteract it. Next question we're going to ask is, how do you feel about pre-workout and energy drinks, and what ingredients should we avoid?
I definitely love pre workout. I've been taking it for quite a while, especially since I started teaching. Being with 13-year-olds all day drains your energy for sure. Like I said, I like going to the gym after work, so I just want that extra boost in performance and focus. It gives me a boost in my endurance as well, ability to get through the workout after working. And I personally use the Naked brand. I think it's a great brand. Tastes good. They got a bunch of different flavors, and most importantly, as you've recommended before, they're third party tested. So I think you definitely will. You're happy that I have a brand that does that. And then when it comes to ingredients, the number one ingredient that I did a little bit of research on is this is a mouthful. It's dimethylamylamine, and a lot of people would call it DMAA. Some companies do put that in their pre-workout, and it's sort of like a stimulant that narrows your blood vessels and arteries, which can raise your blood pressure. That's also an ingredient that is not FDA approved. So if you see that on the label of your pre-workout, I would highly recommend that you do not use that.
Yeah, or try to avoid that as
Yeah.
much as possible. And honestly, I think it might be better to just take a shot of espresso and creatine, but that's just me. I don't personally take pre-workout again because it just makes me feel like extra jittery and nervous. So if you do feel like you need that pre-workout, I would say, like I said on my supplements podcast, just third party tested, watch the ingredients. Does it have excessive caffeine intake? Because sometimes they may have up to like 150 to 300 milligrams. And if you're already drinking like 1 to 2 cups of coffee, that's a lot of caffeine.
Hmm.
Same with energy drinks. That's just straight up concentrated caffeine. I just can't imagine that your heart likes that too much on a daily basis. Now, the FDA does say that 400 milligrams or about 4 cups of coffee is the safe amount, but I feel like if you aren't sleeping well or if you're feeling more anxious and your blood pressure is raised, it may be time to switch things up. Next question I'm going to ask is, are there any benefits to caffeine?
I would say yes. I mean, I did some research on different studies that were done to see if caffeine is beneficial. One of the studies that I saw was a study done by Harvard researchers, and it showed that those who increased their coffee intake by just 1 cup a day had an 11% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So that's pretty interesting. Then those who decreased by 1 cup a day had a 17% higher risk. So just
Hmm.
increasing your coffee intake, I guess, can help that. Then I also saw another study that was done by researchers in Florida. Those researchers tested the blood of a group of older adults. I'm not 100% sure what their ages were, but I know that they had mild cognitive impairments. And then 2 to 4 years down the road, they reevaluated the blood of those individuals, and saw that those that contained caffeine were far less likely to have progressed to full blown dementia than those who didn't. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So I found that it can definitely help with alertness and physical performance, which I think most of us are aware of. And then I found a study done in 2012 by the American Academy of Neurology stating that if you have a diagnosis of Parkinson's, it could be correlated with a decrease in involuntary movements if you consume approximately 16 ounces of black coffee a day. And then slow the progression of dementia, like Jake mentioned. Then I also found some studies saying it actually can promote heart health if you drink it black, of course, because of the antioxidants and to prevent and help fight inflammation. So I thought those were all good facts. I think the main thing to take away here is that maybe it could be related more to the sugar content. And I think that's more of the enemy than straight up just plain caffeine or coffee.
Yep. Drink your black coffee, people.
Yeah, I mean, from what we found, like black coffee has a lot of great benefits. So if you are drinking black coffee, keep doing that. For me, I personally am guilty of loving a good sweet drink or latte. So definitely one of my guilty pleasures. But as they say, all things in moderation. So that's what I keep telling myself. And then lastly, what's an interesting fact about caffeine or coffee that not many people know about?
Well, as you know, I'm a history buff, so I wanted to pull something from late earlier years. So I found that in Sweden in the 18th century, coffee was actually banned for most of the 18th century,
Wow.
and that was because the king at the time, who his name is King Gustav III, wanted to have it studied, so he had a temporary ban for people not to drink it. I guess the government at the time could study it. He was determined to prove that it was a stimulant that had negative health effects. So I don't know what his beef was with caffeine, but he was not letting people drink it at the time. So anyway,
Wow, do you know how long that was for?
I know it was. So I actually saw that it was banned like in 4 different time periods. So it was really weird, and I think he was, I guess, fight because a lot of people were obviously against it
Yeah,
because people like drinking coffee.
yeah.
So I thought that was crazy. I don't know how he could dislike it, but anyway,
I wonder what he found. I assumed
yeah.
that they found that there was good
Well,
benefits.
obviously it's not banned anymore, so I think that
Right.
just sort of fell off when he wasn't in control. So,
That's so funny.
hmm
Interesting.
yep.
Well, the fun fact that I found is that light roast actually has more caffeine than a dark roast. This is because the beans are roasted for less time at a lower temperature compared to the darker roast. So I thought
hmm
that was interesting.
I don't have a preference. I like both. So, but I didn't know that light roast over dark roast.
Yeah.
hmm
Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to touch on some caffeine alternatives, especially if you're thinking you maybe want to take a break from caffeine, see how your body responds. I know that most people love the idea of having something warm to drink in the mornings, so this one may seem pretty obvious, but simply just replacing either all your cups of coffee with decaf or maybe your second or third cup of coffee with decaf. And I've actually come to love the brand IQ. They have these caffeine packets that have magnesium, L-theanate, and lion's mane extract, which on their site suggests this comes with cognitive benefits and boost in memory and focus and can actually help your sleep quality. And so I feel like I know for sure when I take one of the packets, I'm not as jittery. So I definitely love to just have those in the morning. And then I know mushroom coffee has become a big thing as well. I don't know too much about that, but I can definitely do some research on it if people are interested. And then there's always an option for tea as well. And some may think this is weird, but sometimes I like to drink bone broth in the morning because, again, it's giving me that warm cup to drink in the morning, but it's also a boost of a little bit of protein, which is nice. But yeah, for the most part, caffeine is not as negative as maybe I thought when starting this podcast. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always be an advocate for coffee. You got to be all in moderation, as
Yeah,
we say. I think that's the most important thing because I can honestly speak that as soon as I wake up, I like that little extra boost. But
yeah.
those kids in college, man, they got me hooked.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Jake, and thanks for listening into our deep dive about caffeine. I feel like we both learned something new here, so I appreciate the time you took to research the questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll always. I wish I was talking about this with a cup of coffee in my hand. I think I'm gonna. This is making me want to go have a cup. I think, even though I had one before this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's pretty well deserved. I don't know why we didn't just record this podcast with a cup of coffee in our hands, but anyways, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to message me, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.